What's up, everybody? It's your boy Clay Dog, Sizzle Dizzle, and today we're reviewing Jeepers Creepers. So let's kick it. What's up, everybody? We're reviewing Jeepers Creepers today, released in 2001, written and directed by Victor Salva. It's Halloween month, horror season. We're reviewing horror films all month long, and we are still on Creature Feature Week. So we're doing different Creature Feature classics this week. Next week, just to let you know, is going to be Vampire Werewolf Week. So we're going to be reviewing different vampire and werewolf films. So if you have any vampire werewolf movies that you want me to review, put them in the comment section so I can get around to doing them. I have a couple already slotted in, but I can pivot and review a werewolf or vampire movie that you want me to review. If it's a classic, I'm probably already going to be reviewing it. So if there's one that you particularly like that may not necessarily be a classic, put it in the comment section and I will check it out and see if I can give it a review. But yeah, that's what's on the schedule for next week. Werewolf Vampire Week. This week, we're on Creature Features. So we've already done The Thing. We've already done Alien. We've already done Jaws. And today, as you can tell by the title, we're doing Jeepers Creepers. Now, hear me out before you start wondering why I'm doing this particular film for Halloween month. Look, I know everything about Victor Salva, the director. I know all about his scandal and everything that happened and that he's gotten into. I don't condone his personal life or the stuff that he's done, but I try to do my best at separating the art from the artist. And I think you can appreciate someone's artwork and what they've created without necessarily supporting or liking the individual person or artist. So I'm not going to get into his personal life or the scandal or any of that stuff. This is a movie review channel, not a person review channel. So we're going to be reviewing movies, not persons. So that in mind, let's get into my thoughts and my review of Jeepers Creepers. And it does belong on a Creature Feature Week because this is a creature. The creeper is a creature. And if you have not seen this film, there may be some stuff that I spoil, although I'm going to try to keep it spoiler free because I don't think Jeepers Creepers is as much of a classic. I know it's not as much of a classic as The Thing or Alien or Jaws. It's not quite on those films' level as far as recognition and classicness, but it's still a pretty well-known film in the horror community, I feel like. So if you've seen this movie, nothing's going to be spoiled here, and feel free to tag along for the ride. But if you haven't seen Jeepers Creepers, just know you can stay with me. I'd love to have you, but just keep in mind there might be some spoilers along the way. So if you want to see the movie first before watching this review, by all means, do so. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and get right into this review. So, Victor Salva wrote and directed Jeepers Creepers, released in 2001, starring Justin Long as Derry and Gina Phillips as his sister Trish. Now, I got to say, I am a fan of Justin Long. I do like a lot of his films that I've seen him in. He's a very funny guy. I find him very hilarious, very amusing. So Everyone has their own taste in comedy and in humor, but Justin Long is, I think, a very funny guy, naturally funny person. So obviously he's fantastic in Dodgeball. That's comedy gold right there. But he's done some horror films where he's also been maybe not quite as funny, but very incredibly entertaining. And that he is one of the strong positives for me in this film. So getting into the positives, Justin Long is a positive for me. His performance here as Derry, and just that natural charm and charisma that he brings to this role. He's a very entertaining person, very entertaining character. And anytime I see him on screen, whatever film I see him in, I'm always glued to the screen, because he's a very entertaining person. He's got a lot of charisma, a lot of charm, and I love watching him on screen. He just makes anything that he's in better for me and more entertaining for me. Even if the film isn't that great of a film, if Justin Long is in it, there's at least something that I can get out of the film because he's in it, and he's always money to me. So I do like him in this film. I like his character, Derry. I think Justin Long does a good job at giving this character some layers. You know, there's certain scenes where he comes across maybe kind of a bit of a, you know, not the best person, not the best brother, not the best guy. But there's also moments in the car with his sister where you can tell he has a good heart, you know, and he cares about his sister, and, you know, he wants her to be taken care of. He wants to make sure that she's in good hands. So I buy into their charisma. Him and Gina Phillips, their brother and sister relationship, I buy into that. I believe it. They have really good chemistry together. I believe that they're brother and sister. I believe it. Like, if you told me that they were actually brother and sister in real life, which obviously they're not, but if I didn't know them and you just said, hey, these two are actually brother and sister in real life, I would actually believe you, because their chemistry is very natural. It's very believable on screen together. So yeah, I thought both of them did really good. Gina did really good as well, playing Trish. I think she also has some layers to her. They seem very, very good on screen together. Very natural, very authentic, and they have really good chemistry. So both of them are positives for me. Jonathan Breck plays the Creeper, and he does a really good job, it must be said. I think that this is a kind of a difficult role to play, because it's not like a Jason or a Michael where you get to wear a mask and kind of hide behind the mask. You don't have a mask, so it's all makeup and prosthetics, but you also have to work and act through that. You don't have a mask to hide your face, so you really have to let your facial expressions do a lot of the acting, and your body language and your movement do a lot of the acting, and you have to be believable. He doesn't talk. He's one of those silent killers, but the difference is that he doesn't have a mask to hide behind. He actually has to act without speaking and act through his facial expressions, his body language, the way he carries himself. And I think he does a really good job at it. And he comes across very creepy. I mean, the Creeper, that is a proper name for that guy, for that character. It's a proper name because he is creepy. He is a creeper. So I just think that Breck's performance and portrayal of that character is very, very good. He genuinely is a frightening guy, and you believe. I buy into that performance. So good job on his part playing the Creeper as well, and just showing his acting talent there with the level of difficulty that he has playing that character. I think he does a really great job. So other positives I have with this movie, the directing by Victor Salva, I think is very, very good. Just the way that he executes everything, from the cinematography, that, you know, when he's shooting in the car, the first act of this film is almost entirely shot in a car with Justin Long and Gina Phillips in the car together. They're driving home, and most of the first act just takes place in the car with them going back and forth with brother sister talk, kind of getting on each other's nerves, doing typical sibling stuff where you're messing with your sibling, your brother, your sister, you're kind of pushing their buttons, but you're also having fun and being playful at the same time. But then things go from 0 to 100 like that. When you see that truck come zooming up behind them, and the way that Victor Salva shoots that scene, I think is fantastic. He shoots it from the front window of the car looking in at Justin and Gina, and you see as the viewer what's in the rear view, the creeper's truck coming up behind them really, really fast, and then he gives that creepy horn sound, and things just go 0 to 100 instantly. And I just think that Victor's directing of that whole sequence is fantastic. And he has a lot of like the old school type of horror themes in this film, where it's not necessarily the characters in the shots that you have to watch, but it's the surroundings that you have to watch. You have to watch what's going on behind the characters. You have to watch what's going on the sides of the characters, in front of the characters. It's that natural horror way of directing scenes and directing films, where it's all about the surroundings of the characters, not necessarily watching the characters themselves. Because if you're just watching the characters, a lot of times in horror films, you're going to miss certain things that's going on around the character. So, and Victor does a good job at implementing those classic horror themes in this film, where it's about watching your surroundings and watching what's going on in every direction. And you when you do that, you pick up on certain things that he puts throughout this film. So really good job by Salva directing this movie. And he kind of throws in a lot of different horror classics in this film. What I mean by classic is typical horror themes that you see in horror films, whether it's like slasher things with gore, or kind of dark humor type of themes that are in here. Like I said, the shooting things from the surroundings of the characters, just a lot of classic stuff in this movie that you see. The more horror film that you watch, you kind of pick up on different things that Victor kind of throws into this film. So really good job by Victor in the directing department. I thought the score was good as well in this movie, by Bennett Salve, I think is how you pronounce his last name. Again, it's not a score that's like super recognizable. It's not a score that's iconic, but it's effective. And that, again, is always what I'm looking for a movie score, is effectiveness. Make me feel what you want me to feel in this movie. If you want this movie to frighten me in certain scenes, have an effective score that adds into the fright, that enhances that fright and that fear element in the scenes. And Victor understands that, and he has scenes where you have really effective score that enhances the horror in the moment. So that is effective score, and that's the score that I like seeing in horror films and in films in general. So I do like the score in this movie. It is a positive for me and my viewing experience when I come to this movie. The writing and the script, I think, is well written by Salva. It's a very coherent script. Things are pretty fleshed out. There's no real plot holes here that bother me, or any writing inconveniences that bother me, except for one minor issue, and we'll talk about that in a minute. One minor issue in the script that when I watch this movie, I'm always kind of throws me off guard for a second, but then I get right back in to the story. But overall, I thought this film was very well written. The story is it is a deep story here. I think a well written story about two siblings, brother and sister, and how both of them truly are willing to sacrifice themselves to save their brother or their sister, and just that family love and that family connection, and how deep the love for family can go, I think is always an important story to be reminded of, and that's here in this movie. So I think the story of the Creeper himself is also well written. I think Victor explains enough about this Creeper that you have the information you need to have in order to understand what's going on. He doesn't overdo it. He doesn't get too complicated with the story or with the Creeper's backstory or anything like that, where it's too much exposition and then he just writes himself into a corner. He doesn't do that. He gives you just enough of what you need to know about this Creeper in order to invest yourself in the film, in order to just kick back, relax, and enjoy the movie. You understand what's going on. You get it. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science, but it's just enough to where you kind of figure everything out about what's going on. So that's good writing there by Salva. Not overcomplicating it, but not underdoing it where you don't have enough to figure out what the story is here. So, and I think the Creeper is a really good horror villain, like a really good horror icon, and because he genuinely is creepy. Like if I ran into that guy, yeah, not gonna be a good time, and not gonna go well for me. I'll just say that. And what's kind of I had an interesting thing happen when I watched this film back for this review. As soon as I was done watching it, I left to go run an errand, and as soon as I walk out of my house, I actually see a crow fly off my car, which, if you've seen this movie, you know that there's a lot of crows around where the Creeper is. So if you see a lot of crows, chances are the Creeper is around. And as soon as I get done watching this movie, I go out to my car and there's a crow that flies off the hood of my car. And yeah, how poetic, right? But just even the design and the look of the Creeper, I really like. I think he looks really cool. It's a really good looking villain here. I think the makeup and just the design here was really good. Looks really good. Doesn't look tacky or cheap makeup. It's really well done makeup, really extensive makeup, and it looks good. Looks really good. I love the look of the Creeper. I think he definitely has one of the best looks of any of the horror icons. He's got that old brim hat with that long trench coat, and then that kind of old white stringly hair that's coming down, and then the makeup for the face and the eyes. It's a really cool look. So there's the one scene where they're at that old lady's house, and she sees the Creeper in her yard, and she's talking to him, and the way that Victor shoots the Creeper, where he just looks like this scarecrow, this creature looking thing in the yard, It's so good. It's such a great shot. It's creepy. It's like eerie. And then she starts shooting at him, and he does his creeper stuff and just goes 0 to 100 like that, and goes and, kills the old lady. So, there's some, like I said, the cinematography really good. There's some really good shots, and just some of the things that Victor does with the camera work is really good. So, and some of the ways that he shoots the creeper, I think, is really effective, and he gets the feeling that he wants you to have of the creeper and of the story in this film. So that's good directing in a horror film. Other positives for me, I mean, just the film as a whole, I think it's a really good film. This is definitely one of my favorite horror films. It would definitely be in my top 50, probably in my top 20, if I'm being honest. I think it's always fun to come back to. Some of the sequels obviously don't hold up to the original Jeepers Creepers. They're nowhere on the same level as this original one, but it's a great film. As far as negatives, I don't really have any major negatives here. The one thing that I had mentioned earlier that always kind of for a moment draws me out, but then I get right back in because it's such an entertaining film. The scene where Justin Long's character, Derry, goes into that tunnel down into the hole in the ground, and he tells his sister to get in the car and go get help. And then they show, so you're led to believe that that's what she's going to do. And then they show his sister, and she's just standing by the car. She's not doing anything. She's not going to get help like she could have been doing. She's just standing by the car doing absolutely nothing. And the car is just in this open field. Like they were just at the church where they saw the creeper dumping the bodies. That's where the car was. And then they cut back, and the car's just now in this field, and she's just standing outside the car doing nothing. And it's like, okay, how did we get here? And why is she just standing out there doing nothing? Like, I don't really buy that character would just randomly drive the car back into a field, get out of the car, stand next to the car, and do absolutely nothing. It didn't feel natural to that character. And then Justin Long just shows up out of nowhere by the window of the car. And it's like, okay, how did you get out of that hole in the ground? How did you get out of the tunnel? Because you clearly couldn't reach the bottom of the tunnel from where you were in the ground. So how did you just randomly get out exactly? We're never told. And then how did he get back to the car? Did he just walk to that field, to that open field that we don't even know where it was at? Like, that whole portion, it's not a long portion, it's only a few minutes, but every time I see this movie, when that part of the film happens, it always leaves me like kind of grayish in the head, you know what I mean? Like, I'm always just trying to figure out what's happening here. How is it happening, and why is it happening? And we're never given really an explanation for that. So yeah, that part is always just weird to me when I see it. But then, like I said, I get right back into the groove of things. The story picks up, and there's no more of those inconveniences throughout this film. So that's the only part where I'm always kind of pulled out temporarily. But it's not like a huge negative for me, but it is something that affects my experience with this film, and is something that kind of stands out for me with this movie. Other than that, I really like this movie, guys. I think the lady, that psychic lady, she's also a good addition to this film. There's not a whole lot of characters. It really follows Derry and Trish throughout the film. It's really their story. And then you have that psychic lady, but then and I think she's a good addition, but outside of those characters, This not really else. There's nothing else that really happens. It's their story, their journey, in their film, and then obviously the creeper is the villain. And we got to talk about the ending. The ending is so good. That end scene, I remember the first time I saw this, it was so unexpected. I did not see that ending coming. Like, yeah, when you see the ending approaching, you know, okay, we're about to wrap things up here. How is this going to end? And then it ends the way that it does, with Justin Long's body just completely dissected and his eyes gouged out, and the creeper just comes up and looks through the hole in Derry's eye, and that's a wrap. End scene, right? And that's how we end the film. Such a good way to end the film, because you leave on edge, you leave scared, and that's the way you should end a horror film like that. So yeah, really good ending as well. Well written and well directed by Victor Salva. So that's it. My overall rating for Jeepers Creepers, I give this 4.5 stars. I think it's a very great film. Like I said, one of my all-time favorite horror movies. I love coming back to it. Still holds up. I still don't get tired of it. I could throw it in tomorrow and still have fun with it. So yeah, good job by Victor Salva giving us another horror icon in The Creeper. Let me know your thoughts on this movie. Is this one of your favorite films? I would hope that this is your favorite Jeepers Creepers movie. I don't think I've met anyone that thinks any of the others are better than this first one. And let me know what other horror films you want to see me review. If there's a vampire werewolf movie you want me to do, put it in the comment section. We got Vampire and Werewolf week coming up next week. So we're going to be doing a lot of those coming up soon. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, until next time, kick it and rock on.